The purpose of this presentation is to discuss vision as it relates to strategy. We will also touch on mission. These are two of my favorite quotes when it comes to vision, mission, and strategy. The ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for, and every man dies, but not every man lives. Both of these statements express the significance and importance of purpose. Why are we doing what we are doing? In organizations as well, this relates to their reason for being, which is their mission. In contrast, vision expresses the direction an organization wishes to take. So in the strategic management planning process, developing a vision is an important step, and in fact the first step. As indicated by Cotter in his seminal book on leading change, developing and communicating a vision is a critical process in change efforts. We'll talk more about Cotter's ideas when we address change later in the course. But for now, realize that the strategy process is an incremental one. No one knows everything they need to know at the start to consistently and effectively execute a strategy. The article signed for this lesson, Building Your Company's Vision, is written by Jim Collins and his co-author. The article addresses the criticality of vision in terms of core ideology and an envisioned future. Jim Collins' biggest claim to fame is his book Good to Great, and he is now credited with what is known as the Collins Canon, consisting of these 4 books. We will be reading Great by Choice later in the course. Next, Professor Carl Weick is renowned in the area of social psychology for provocative ideas. In his book entitled Making Sense of the Organization, he recounts the following story. Definitions notwithstanding, I can best show what I think strategy is by describing an incident that happened during military maneuvers in Switzerland. The young lieutenant of a small Hungarian detachment in the Alps sent a reconnaissance unit into the icy wilderness. It began to snow immediately, snowed for 2 days, and the unit did not return. The lieutenant suffered, fearing that he had dispatched his own people to death. But by the 3rd day, the unit came back. Where had they been? How had they made their way? Yes, they said, we considered ourselves lost and waited for the end. And then one of us found a map in his pocket. That calmed us down. We pitched camp, lasted out the snowstorm, and then with the map we discovered our bearings. And here we are. The lieutenant borrowed this remarkable map and had a good look at it. He discovered to his astonishment that it was a map, not of the Alps, but of the Pyrenees. And if you'll notice on this map here, the Pyrenees and the Alps are separated quite by some distance. Weick offers the following explanations that relate to management plans and ultimately strategy. When you're lost, any old map will do. Plans are like maps. They get people going. The first action leads to the next, so the trick is just to get moving. And then he highlights this point. Some managers keep forgetting that it is what they do, not what they plan, that explains their success. They keep giving credit to the wrong thing, so they spend more time planning and less time acting and are astonished when more planning improves nothing. So when it comes to strategy, a frame of reference is required, such as a map. The map cannot be completely out of context. For example, a map of Disneyland would not help in the mountains. We can conclude that in the absence of a plan, any old strategy within reason will do. At the start of it all, you must simply just get going. Developing a strategic vision involves thinking strategically about the future and what's necessary to change to improve the company. The vision is a roadmap showing the direction the organization needs to go, and it also paints a picture of where the organization is going and why it should go there. Here are a variety of factors that determine whether change is needed to go in a different direction. There are external considerations such as the outlook, changes in the market, new customer groups, emerging market opportunities, plans to abandon existing markets. Then we look at the internal. What are our ambitions for the company? Will the company's present business generate significant growth and profitability? What strengths should be leveraged? Are we stretched too thin in our resources? And is the technological focus too broad or too narrow? Ultimately, a vision is about succeeding on purpose. It is essential to accomplishing your intentions and capabilities. You have to know what you're going to do and where you're going to go. It's bigger than you are. It drives commitment. The reason it drives commitment is that nobody wants to be part of an average or mediocre operation. The bigger the vision, the bigger the challenge within reason, and thus the more the people will be motivated to join the cause. Without a vision, commitment becomes inert and challenges are simply avoided, and an effective leader does not make it his or her purpose to avoid problems. In addition to where the organization is going, a strategic vision is distinctive and specific to that organization. It avoids generic language, triggers strong emotions, and is challenging and uncomfortable, which in turn generates excitement. In 1963, then President Kennedy established a vision for the United States to go to the moon. The engineers at NASA were absolutely astonished by the young president's brazen statement. There's a video interview with one of these engineers stating that we did not even know how to do that. How do we get to the moon is the question we were asking ourselves. But the vision was exciting enough that they all jumped on board and figured it out. Here are some characteristics of an effectively worded vision statement. It's graphic, directional, focused, flexible, feasible, desirable, and easy to communicate. In contrast, shortcomings in vision statements include being incomplete, vague, bland, too reliant on superlatives, too generic, and too broad. Here are some examples of past vision slogans. Levi Strauss and Microsoft seem to have it correct for that point in time. But Mayo Clinic is questionable. Should that not be the vision statement for every healthcare facility? It seems that there's little distinctiveness in the Mayo Clinic vision as stated at that point in time. Here are a few other vision slogans. And here's an interesting video about vision in which the presenter really gets to the nitty-gritty of what it's all about. Again, we will not present it here, but it can be viewed within the PowerPoint presentation or the video links to your left, but it is worth watching. Now we'll contrast mission with vision. Vision is about where we're going. The mission statement focuses on who we are and what we do. One of the strategic management challenges is to ensure that the operations and activities of the organization are oriented toward the organization's purpose and not somehow off track. As an illustration, there is a very interesting interchange on pages 272 to 273 of your book, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. I think we all agree that Steve Jobs was highly successful accomplishing the mission of Apple in various pursuits. So it's appropriate that he should identify the shortcomings of others. The story here is told by Richard Rumelt and begins at the ends of page 272 as follows. Steve Jobs is great at criticism, arrogant and smart. He cuts to the heart of an issue with no wasted effort. In 1997, we used Apple as the living case in the UCLA Anderson MBA strategy course. I and several other faculty members met with Jobs to discuss Apple's future prospects. I know Stanford, he said, but I am not all that familiar with UCLA Anderson. My colleague and department chair, Jack McDonough, responded by offering the school's party line. We like to think that we are the entrepreneurial school. That's interesting, said Jobs. Which Silicon Valley entrepreneurs have come out of your program that I would recognize? Jack grimaced, then answered truthfully, There aren't any. Well, then you failed, Jobs said with finality. That day, he became part of my mental panel of experts. I suppose that says it all. When it comes to strategy, make sure you are doing what you say you are doing.